Hello friends, this is Cooper again with FedRetirementPlanning.com, and today the topic for discussion is the worst fund in the thrift savings plan. I'm going to tell you which fund is the worst in the TSP and tell you, what I think can be done to improve it. As most of you who watch this channel know, there's 5 thrift savings plan investment funds. You got the G fund, you got the C fund, you got the S fund, you got the I fund, you got the F fund, okay? And I guess beyond those, you also have the L funds. So you have the L funds based on when you're going to retire. I think right now they're ranging from L 2020 to L 2050. Once one is retired, then another one tacks on. So once 2020 is retired, then 2060 will come along. So there's a lot of options for you to invest in the TSP. Granted, I think there could be more options, and that's one of the things we're going to talk about today. But the options that you do have are, for the most part, viable options. That said, they are, except for the worst fund, and that's the fund I'm going to talk about today. It's the fund that I don't think is all that great of a fund, and I'll show you some reasons why. And the worst fund, and I'm going to come out on record in saying this, the worst fund in the thrift savings plan is the I fund. The worst fund is the international fund. And let me tell you why. Now I want to clarify that I don't think the I fund is a bad fund simply because it's, international, it's outside of the US, it's not a domestic stock fund. I have no problem with international funds. In fact, I think international funds can be great for diversification purposes, for getting growth in other areas. The US economy does not always do well, and just because the US economy affects just about every other economy, that doesn't mean that you can't find growth elsewhere. Elsewhere being, like emerging markets and things like that. Now you have to understand that you may face more volatility in those markets, but when you understand that and it's aligned with your risk tolerance and goals that I'm always talking about, then you can actually go into those and earn a rate of return that would be something worth investing in. So the I fund has been around since 2001. That was in its inception. I think it was around May or sometime within there. And it's averaged since that time about a 4.2% rate of return. Now, knowing that inflation runs around 2 to 3% or so, we can estimate that the return is around 2% when adjusted for inflation. Okay. Now that's not really that great of a return when we compare it to the volatility that it receives, and the volatility that it receives is very similar to the S and the C fund. So although the S and the C fund both average much higher than the I fund experiences about the same volatility. And that's the reason that I think the I fund is the worst fund of all the TSP funds. Because although the G fund may earn a lower rate of return, it does so with very little, if any, volatility. You can't lose money in the G fund, okay? It's a guaranteed fund. Sure, you may not earn that much and you may not always keep up with inflation, but as far as losing money for your rate of return, it's not going to happen. However, the I fund can lose money, and the I fund is very volatile. So the I fund, just like the C, S, and the F fund, those follow specific indexes that are outside of the TSP. This S fund isn't just the S fund, it follows something else that's managed by a company like Vanguard, BlackRock, or maybe even iShares. Those are the companies that manage those funds. And the I fund's the same way. And the I fund actually follows a fund called the MSCI EAFE. Okay, some alphabet soup there for you. But this fund, the MSCI, I'm not necessarily sure what that stands for, but the EAFE stands for Europe, Australasia, and Far East. What it means by that is those are the parts of the international world that the fund, the MSCI EAFE, is invested in. Okay, so, but what we see is that about 3/4 of the fund is actually invested in a very small amount of countries. In fact, it's only 5 countries. And those countries are Germany, France, the UK, Japan is a big one, and Switzerland. So those are the 5, and actually the biggest one is Japan. Japan makes up, I think, a fourth of the fund. Those are not emerging markets, okay? Those are markets that have been established and, you know, they're overall have been kind of flat. In fact, the reason that, you know, the I fund hasn't done so well is because Switzerland, the UK, and France have pretty much been flat for the past 2 decades, okay? For the past 20 years, they haven't really done a whole lot, okay? So because of that, the I fund doesn't perform well, okay? It just hasn't performed well, and I don't know if it will in the future. So my suggestion for the TSP board, if they watch this, that would be awesome. I'm sure there's some that watch it. You know, if they don't, that's fine, but I think they might eventually. My suggestion is add some emerging market countries, some emerging markets within the I fund, or create a separate fund that offers emerging markets. Okay, consumers will understand, TSP investors will understand that it's a more volatile situation. But if we add some actual emerging markets within an international fund, which people assume to be volatile, then it's going to give more opportunity for growth, okay? Gives more opportunity for diversification, and you can't really do much worse than the I fund's really been doing, okay? I mean, yes, you can do worse, you can go negative and, you know, everything like that. But a 4% rate of return based on the volatility over the past, you know, what has it been, 16 years or so since it's been available, it's not that great, okay? So add some emerging markets in there. So this is the reason the I fund is such a bad fund. Should you not invest in the I fund? Well, I can't tell you that without knowing more. You know, I think, you know, you should invest according to your goals and your risk tolerance and all those different things. But if you're looking at it based from a purely performance standpoint, then the I fund underperforms, okay? The other options are your C fund and your S fund, and they have done significantly better. But this has been Cooper with FedRetirementPlanning.com. Keep your questions coming. Head to the website, check out all the great things that we have available for you, including ebooks, white papers, you know, PDF documents, checklists, cheat sheets, you name it, I've got it. Check it out on the website. Comment below, give me a thumbs up if you like the video, and we'll see you next time.
I can do this all day, I can do this all night.